have started and failed 6 businesses. So that's not something that a lot, of business owners would say. And at each point, I was stuck somewhere where I was saying, right, this is the strategy, but I do not know how to make it happen. And that how comes from a multitude of things. So mindset, understanding that it's a step that we can either step over, learn from. It comes from having the right network as well, speaking to the right people who have also dealt with, that step, that moment, and how they made it happen. Some businesses get stuck at one step and just think that, that's it, I'm done. I will not grow. I will not make my business effective or sustainable. But it's about having those difficult conversations.
I am Omevi Idolo. Before we bring in our guests, we want to look at some of the stories that are making the airwaves around Africa. And in our first story here, Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Olayemi Cardoso has called on African central banks and development finance institutions to play a proactive role in driving industrialization, climate resilience, and financial stability. Cardoso emphasized that coordinated efforts can unlock investment, modernize industries, and prepare African economies for climate challenges. Breakdown with examples, talking about the central bank encouragement. We from Just Africa, and we're looking at banks support factories and manufacturing. Of course, if the Central Bank of Nigeria is saying, of course, go ahead and support industrialization, what stops you? So it's like a bank giving loans to small factories to make products locally, which will boost the economy. And we're also looking at it from the angle of funding green energy and sustainable projects. That's a very big one. Building houses that can withstand floods or storms. That is what the central bank is encouraging. And we're also looking at it from the angle of protecting economies from shocks. Yes, ensuring banks stay strong even if some businesses fail. So we have what it takes to withstand any form of shock. That is what the central bank governor is encouraging. And in our second story, the International Finance Corporation, IFC, has launched a $10 million risk-sharing facility to unlock up to $20 million in new credit for Ethiopian small and medium-sized enterprises, that's SMEs. The initiative aims to encourage banks to lend more confidently to SMEs, which are often considered high-risk borrowers. The facility will provide guarantees to banks, reducing potential losses and allowing businesses to access loans for growth, equipment, and working capital. Officials said the program supports entrepreneurship, job creation, and inclusive economic development in Ethiopia. This is a very good story coming from the Ethiopia. Just as the Central Bank of Nigeria is encouraging industrialization, this is another thing the IFC is encouraging the Ethiopia banks to do. IFC guarantees loans to banks can lend more. Now, what they are doing is that banks can lend more to SMEs because they have the backing of IFC. So it is a guarantee. It's like a parent goes signing a loan, so the bank trusts you to borrow more money. So if IFC is saying, come on, go ahead and borrow, of course, because there is a backing, they can give more to smaller banks. So SMEs, I meant to say. In another angle, we look at it as small businesses get access to funds. Local bakery borrows to buy other things that will make the bakery succeed. Of course, they are helping the business to grow. They are helping individuals to grow. So if the banks can give more money to individuals, of course, more products will come out and, of course, money will be paid. And we're looking at it, more funding creates employment. Yes, when SMEs are well funded, jobs will be created. So hiring extra workers as a bakery owner, for instance, of course, it will make productivity grow stronger. More people will be employed, of course, more work will be done, and unemployment will be reduced drastically. And in our third story today, it's not a very good one, but it's still okay. Tomato prices in Ghana have surged following a deadly jihadist attack in Burkina Faso that halted tomato exports. Ghana relies heavily on imports from Burkina Faso, and the disruption has created shortages in major markets. Traders report that the price of tomatoes has increased by up to 40% in some regions, affecting households, restaurants, and small-scale food businesses. Authorities are exploring alternative supplies to stabilize prices and ensure supply. The story, well, we can say that it is not a very good story because what's happening is Burkina Faso is already affecting Ghana because Ghana depended so much on Burkina Faso for automotive supply. So limited supply drives prices up. It is everywhere. The unavailability of products will always skyrocket the prices of goods, and that is affecting Ghana right now. So if few things are left in the shop, the price will definitely go higher, and up to 40%, that is on the high side. And looking at it again, imports disrupted by security threats. I think it's high time the leaders of Africa, the African continent, started looking into security issues, and it should be well handled because we can't keep going back and forth. This is just within the continent, and we're having threats that is affecting food supply. And looking at it again, we're also encouraging Ghana to find alternatives and boost local production. Yes, you can't just rely on another country. Now, look at what is happening. Because of what is going on in Burkina Faso, Ghana is having surge in tomato price. So Ghana must look at it. How do we produce our own product? How do we make produce more tomatoes so that restaurant households don't get affected? And in our fourth and very last story here, we heard that 4 South African nationals who had been recruited to fight for Russia have been repatriated home. Authorities said the returnees were intercepted and safely returned following cooperation between South African and international security agencies. The incident underscores the risks posed by foreign recruitment for conflicts, including legal consequences, safety hazards, and diplomatic challenges. Officials stress the importance of monitoring and advising citizens against involvement in foreign conflicts. Civil society groups and families have welcomed the repatriation, calling for rehabilitation and counseling programs to support returnees' reintegration into the society. So citizens return safely home. That's the very first part of the story. It's a beautiful thing that, yes, they got home safely. Although it's not a very good thing that they were just repatriated like that. But there are more stories building around it. But it is first and first, safety, which is a beautiful thing. So looking at it from another angle, legal, safety, and diplomatic issues, it's like joining a fight in another country can land you in jail or in danger. So whatever any African is doing, please be conscious of what you're doing. And lastly, here we help returnees adjust to normal life. It is not going to be easy for the returnees, for these guys that were repatriated, to come back into the society and just live their normal lives. So it will require a whole lot. The government have to help those people come back and help them adjust to the norms of the society right now. Strategy sounds powerful. It looks good in presentations. It fits perfectly in pitch decks. But results, real growth, consistent revenue, strong systems, sustainable impact, that is where the real work begins. Why do so many brilliant businesses struggle to move from planning to performance? What separates the entrepreneurs who talk about growth from those who actually achieve it? In a continent where small and medium enterprises drive employment and economic expansion, execution is not just a business issue, it is a development issue. Delivering results means building structures, mastering financial discipline, leveraging technology, and developing leadership that goes beyond passion. Today, we explore what it truly takes for African small businesses to move beyond survival and step confidently into scale, stability, and measurable success. Once again, this is Just Africa on Sook News Television. You can follow us on all our social media platforms and at Sook News TV, and subscribe to the Just Africa show. Okay, so today on Just Africa, our conversation focuses on moving from strategy to results, how African small businesses can deliver. And our guest, Gaelle Mokoy, is a project manager, health innovation in Manchester, that's NHS, founder, coach, and mentor, Brains Magazine executive contributor. Mokoy brings over a decade of experience translating organizational priorities into structured plans, strengthening delivery capability, and managing competing priorities under pressure. Her insights provide practical guidance for founders, entrepreneurs, and small business leaders striving to turn ambition into tangible outcomes. Hello, Mokoy. Welcome to Just Africa.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. I appreciate you. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah. How is Manchester today?
Manchester's lovely, a bit cold, but no, Manchester's lovely. It's great. Thank you. How about you? How is Lagos?
Yeah, Lagos is good, of course. You know, all the hustling and bustling continues. That's Lagos life for you. We're used to it and it's beautiful. Okay, so Mokoy, let's have this conversation. Many entrepreneurs proudly say, I have a strategy. That is the word. I have a strategy. So in your experience, what does a real strategy look like beyond a written document?
A real strategy is going from thinking about what to do to applying what to do. And that's where a lot of business owners, founders, get stuck because they think, yes, I have this great idea and this is what I need to do to make it happen. But the doing is the difficult part because they realize that, one, certain things they do not know how to do, certain things they will probably not have the capital, the funds to do, and certain things they actually do need a team to make it happen. Especially if they're not just thinking of staying small forever, they're thinking of expanding, of growing, and turning it into something major that can make a change for their life, but also for the way they think about business.
Okay, so why do so many small businesses fail at execution, even when their ideas are solid?
That's an issue that I had. So a little bit about my backstory as a founder and a business owner. I have started and failed 6 businesses. So that's not something that a lot, of business owners would say. But I have started and failed 6 businesses. And at each point, I was stuck somewhere where I was saying, right, this is the strategy, but I do not know how to make it happen. And that's the issue. That's the how. We don't know how to make it happen. And that how comes from a multitude of things. So mindset, understanding that it's a step, it's a step that we can either go over, step over, learn from. It comes from having the right network as well, speaking to the right people, those who are at the same stage as you, those that are above you, who have also dealt with, that step, that moment, and how they made it happen. Sometimes it will just require changing a few things in your system. Sometimes it will require going back to the drawing board and finding a brand new strategy that you can use. Or other times it will require money. And some businesses get stuck at one step and just think that, that's it, I'm done. I will not grow. I will not make my business effective or sustainable. But it's about having those difficult conversations at those steps when it comes to strategy.
Okay, so I will ask you some of the steps that you're talking about. But before then, you failed in 6 businesses. You started 6 businesses and failed in 6 businesses, and you're still running a business. What is the drive? Like, what's keeping you going? Many people would have given up.
I'm going to say, with some of us, the entrepreneurial fire, that entrepreneurial knowledge, it's those things. And I've had it since I was young. I've had it since I was very young. So here in high school, I think when I was about 14 or 15, they used to sell sweets, in the counters. And eventually the British law changed and they said you're no longer allowed to sell sweets in school. So being the naughty child that I was, I went to the corner shop and I just literally bought sweets, chocolates, fizzy drinks. And I took those to school and started selling them. That was my first business. I didn't think it was a business. I just thought, no, we deserve to have sweets in school. So I'm going to sell them. That was my first business. Of course, being in school, I got in trouble. I had to stop. Next, I followed passions. I am passionate about makeup. I am passionate about hair. I'm passionate about fashion. Whilst I had at that time the knowledge of how to do those things, I did not have the business knowledge to run those businesses. So it was give and take. In my mind, it was, I want to make clothes. I want to sell them, but I do not know how to sell them. I know how to do makeup. I know how to paint a beautiful face, but I do not know how to market myself. I do not know how to price myself. I do not know how to find the right people who will use my services. So I'm going to say each of those 6 failed businesses were lessons that brought me to the point where I am now, where I can run a business successfully and say, this is how I'm going to price myself. This is how I'm going to market myself. This is how I'm going to attract the right clients.
Okay.
Those businesses have taught me that this where I am now. And I know that the business that I have now, although I'm going to say it's still fairly young because it's less than 3 years old. In the UK, we call that a very young business. From what I have learned on my failed businesses, this one will not fail. This one will grow.
That's beautiful. I love the mindset. But you said something, you failed because you do not know some of the steps, or back then you have no understanding of the steps you to take, and you do not even know how to find the right people. So before we talk about finding the right people, what are some of those steps that you would have taken back in the days that you are taking now, or that you are following the right steps to take that is scaling up your business, your current business right now?
One of the first things that I have to say is, when I first started, I thought that I had to do everything myself. And as a project manager by trade, that's something you learn as well. You need to learn how to delegate. Okay, so finding the right people to bring in your organization that you can trust, that you believe can actually do the job, can actually report back to you, can actually tell you honestly what is happening. So that was one of my pain points, one of my failures. When I first started, because I thought, well, I have to do the accounting, I have to, manage the inventory, I have to be on social media, I have to, contact, the everything basically. Whereas now it's, I focus on my strengths. So as I said, I'm a project manager, but my strength is also marketing and branding. So that is what I focus on. I have an accountant. I have someone that deals with my systems. I have someone that does the email marketing. I have someone that does the lead generation. So I have built a team. I am working with people that are experts in their field in order to make my business grow. And that's the stage that I am at. But when you are, of course, a smaller business, it is difficult to do that. So it's about picking your battles, okay? It's about knowing where you're strong at. The things that you're strong at, you want to spend forever doing that, which is completely understandable. However, knowing that the numbers need to be correct, your accounting needs to be done, the systems need to be in place, the inventory needs to be counted, the suppliers need to be put in touch with. So you need to set time aside to do that. You need to know that. You need to learn that. But eventually, with time, if you want your business to grow, you cannot be everywhere. You need to delegate that to the right people.
Yeah, you need to delegate to the right people. But how do you get the right persons to do the job? Sometimes you just assume, or people just think, this person, I think is good for the job. And at the end of the day, you find out that no, the person is not even half good for the job. So how do you get the right people to do the job rightly?
Trial and error. So I have worked with people who were absolutely not good for the job. They look great on CV. Okay. Did the interview, passed, but when it actually came time to do the job, they needed more help than they could provide me help with. I'm the type of person who I'm always, open to bringing people up with me. If you need more help to learn, that's fine. What is it that you need to learn? What is it that you need support for? And we can work on that. However, if you're coming to me with saying that you have a certain level of expertise and you do not, and you also do not want help, and you also do not want to become better in your role, I'm sorry, we're going to have to part ways. And yes, it is trial and error. Your business, if you think about it, is like any other organization. It's like, I'm sorry, I do not know if you have that in Nigeria, but we have this big superstore here called Asda. Working at Asda, you are employed based on your skills. And if you do not, your skills are up to a certain level and you want to move on up, you will be trained. They will give you the training. They will give you the support. You also have to be willing to take it. Yeah. If you're not willing to take it, then I'm sorry, there's nothing that the organization can do for you. And you need to think of the same way in terms of your business. Okay, this person is doing good. Here's the areas where they can do better. Do you want training? Do you want support? Is there anything that I can do for you? If they are not willing and you know that that is hindering your business, let them go.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, Mokoy. Now, you work within health innovation in Manchester under the NHS, an environment known for structure, systems, and measurable outcomes. What has working in that system taught you about turning strategy into results?
The NHS is a very interesting place to work because, of course, it's the National Health Service. So customers, our clients, are every single human being in the UK. Okay, so we're not working for profit. We're working to make sure that people are healthy, people are safe, people, are taken care of. In terms of strategy, that is always what you have to keep at the back of your mind. Your strategy is not to make money. Your strategy is to help people. And everything that you need to put into place is how you can help people in a short term, on a medium term, and on a long term basis. In terms of the systems in place, with the level of support and the way people need to be helped in terms of their health, is forever changing. So we always need to keep at the forefront of that. We always need to keep being knowledgeable, being understanding of what people need. And if I take that into business, that doesn't change. People like a certain thing today, they may not like it tomorrow. People are behaving a certain way today, maybe tomorrow they'll be like, absolutely not, we do not want this. Understanding the needs of your target audience, of your target market, of your client is very, very important. So, for example, within the NHS right now, we're trying to move into holistic care. And holistic care is not just focusing on one specific area of illness, is how everything can work together. So how can the clinicians, the doctors, the GPs, the nurses work with the family, work with the social service system in order to help that person within the community? Because we do not want to keep that person in hospital. We want them to, if they are, unwell, how do we make them better by all working together? That's holistic care. And we are working on strategies to make sure that we bring that holistic care together. But at the same time, the world is changing. There's also AI coming in. How do we use AI within the wards? How do we use AI, to help us simplify the work of the clinicians in order to support the clients that we have? I would say, though, within the NHS, there is a big resistance in terms of AI, and highly understandable because although, LLM language models and AIs have been, around for a very, very long time, as an organization, we know very little about it and how we can use it and in which spaces of the NHS. So we're still learning, but I think in the next maybe 2 to 3 years, there will be quite a lot of work with AI within the NHS. That is my prediction.
Okay, so looking at the way NHS operates with the kind of structures they have you at any point in time tried to use the system or maybe just to follow the track, the map they use, the style they use? Have you ever tried using that to run your business?
Well, I would say a business is a business is a business, okay? And a project is a project is a project. So everything that you learn in project, you can use it in other projects. Okay. Everything that you learn in one business, you can use it in other business. So the one thing that I would say is my knowledge, that I input in the NHS is also knowledge that I input into business.
Business, yeah.
Yes, so I can't take, because of course I am bound by contracts and I am bound by, my ethics as working within the NHS. I cannot physically take what's there and move it here, because that would be unethical. But the knowledge that I have and the knowledge that I use within the NHS is definitely knowledge that I also have and also use in business.
Okay, so that's what I found. So what does structure look like in a small, fast-moving teams? Just like yours, what does structure really means?
Structure means what you want it to mean. So structure is literally what you need it to be within your organization. So, for example, within my team, in the NHS. We have the program director, we have the program lead, then we have me, and then we have the coordinators. So that is one, two, three. That's about a team of 67 people. Each of us have our role, okay? And my role is to oversee and make sure that the job of the project coordinators is done, okay? The activities that they have on a day-to-day basis is done. I make sure that I remove any impediments, any problems, any issues that they have, okay, in order for them to do their job. So there must be no bottleneck. There must be nothing that's stopping them to do their job on a day-to-day basis. If they bring it to me, I need to do my damn hardest to make sure that nothing is stopping them. Okay. If there is something that I cannot fix, okay, that I cannot sort out, before going to my project lead, I need to make sure that I have come up to maybe 3 or 4 solutions. That's my way of working. Okay, I can't just go to my project lead saying, I don't know what to do. At times I have done that, but very rarely. I come up with about 3 or 4 solutions and say, this one is my favorite. This one is the one I believe will solve that problem. That is then gone to my project lead, who will more than likely said, you know what, you're right. Here's some suggestion on how we can go about things. Go ahead and implement it.
Okay.
And that you can run your business exactly the same way as well.
Oh, okay, yes, I like that. You know what to do. You know exactly what to do. But some small businesses don't understand this. So are there tools or habits that help small businesses stay focused under pressure? Just as you said, you have to remove every bottleneck. And every business owner needs to understand that. What are the habits or what are the tools they need to help them stay in track?
So before answering that question, I just want to say that I've got 10 years experience in project management, okay? And I have over 10 something years, let me say about 15 years experience in entrepreneurship. So in order to form the habits that I have formed and to have the understanding that I have, it's trial and error, which is why I specifically said I have failed at 6 businesses. Because when each time I failed is each time I learned. Because when the problem came about the second and third time, I was like, this is what happened last time. This is what I didn't do. This is what happened last time. This is what I did. I shouldn't have done that. This is how I should, go ahead and move forward with that issue. Okay. So this is what has helped me build the habits that I have today and that I have inputted in my business. So one thing that I want to say to business owners, don't be afraid of failing. Okay. A failure is a lesson. One thing that I have is day-to-day systems. So I keep track of absolutely everything. Absolutely everything, so that I know, because I'm such a busy person as well. My calendar is my best friend. If it's not in my calendar, I'm sorry, it's not happening. It never happened. Okay. My calendar, so that I keep track of what I do on a day-to-day basis, from waking up in the morning to the last thing I do at night. But I track my tasks. What needs to be done? When does it need to be done by? How long does it take me to do it? Who do I need to implement it with? Do I need to do it by myself? All of these things, because sometimes there are periods in business or even at work, where you feel like nothing is happening. But when you're keeping track of things, you know that you're moving forward. You know that things are moving ahead.
Yeah, but many SMEs don't track performance beyond sales. Many of them just say, okay, I want to track my sales. What key metrics should they be paying attention to?
Tracking sales is great. But if you only track the sales, you will not know how to replicate those sales over and over again. Okay, you will not know how to keep doing that amount of money. You will just sometimes put it down to luck, or say, it was just it was just a little bit of luck, or it was the right time, or things like that. No, if you keep track of what you did within that specific amount of time, you can replicate that over and over and over again. to keep getting those results. Okay, that is what a strategy is. It's something that you can implement over and over and over again to get the results that you need and how you need them to be. So, for example, in terms of social media, okay, last year in August, I started posting every day for 100 days. I know that if I post every day for 100 days, I can get traction on my Instagram page for up to around 40,000 people watching me, because it is a proven record. I have done it again, and the same thing is happening. People are watching my posts. People are listening to what I'm talking about. You know, I know how to make that happen because I have tracked it. And now I am tracking it even further to find out that from the posts that I post, which ones are the best on a weekly basis, which one gets the most comments, which one drives the most people to my website and gets me clients, so that I can keep replicating that. In terms of sales, okay, what is it that sells the most? Why? Does it sell the most at a specific time of the year? Does it sell the most at a specific time of the month, specific time of the week? I have a client who took the time to track her sales, and she realized that based on where she is, because she's in the US, most people purchase from her very late on a Thursday evening and very early on a Friday morning, between, let's say, 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning. And she realized that's when her customers get paid. Those that get paid on a weekly basis, they get paid at that time, so they spend their money with her. So what she's put together is a newsletter that goes out between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. so that when they get their money, they're already ready. They know what to buy. They know how to buy. They know where to go. So tracking your sales is great, but it's not the only thing you need and you should track.
Okay, so let's talk about SMEs leadership, small businesses. When it comes to leadership, there's a whole lot around it. Well, first of all, how can they lead without losing focus, at the same time competing with other businesses that are operating on same pedestal with them? But they have to stay focused and ensure that they do not lose focus and they achieve what their goals. Leadership.
In terms of leadership, I'm going to split this answer into two. So in terms of leadership, of course, you need to know how to lead, and knowing how to lead is having an end goal in mind. So let's say your business year runs from January to December. Mine, for example, runs from March to February. So by the end of this month, I will look at what I have done and what I have achieved from last year, March, until this year, February 26. But in order to have that, I had to have an end goal. So what needed to be my revenue in terms of sales, in terms of what I wanted to achieve financially, but also the brand reputation. Customers, are they always new customers? Are they returning customers? So all of those things, I wrote that down in March last year, and I'm going to review that we are in the process of reviewing that already as a business. That's that. But you have the 12 months, great, but then you break that into quarters. And then after breaking that into quarters, of course, you break that on a monthly basis. From breaking that onto monthly basis, you break that onto weekly basis, and then activities that you can do on a day-to-day basis to achieve those goals. That is a strategy, okay? That is a strategy. So that's one way, part of a way to being a great leader, okay? Being a great leader is also asking your team what's going on. I need reports. It's all great saying we're going to achieve all of those things, but where are we up to? Where are we up to on a weekly basis? So every week I have a meeting with my team asking them what's going on. Okay, all part of this project management style that I've always had. What's going on? What have we achieved? What have we not achieved? What issues are we having, so that we can get those issues out of the way and keep moving as a business, keep gaining, keep growing, keep developing. Also, I would say one thing with me is I lead by example.
Okay.
I want my team to work hard. I show them how hard I work. So it's one of those things because me and my team, most of us work remotely. So we meet like this by Zoom, by Teams, or whichever people prefer to use. But at work, I lead by example, meaning I arrive at work prior to some of my team members, prior to some of my colleagues. Okay, I set up before them. I give them at least a skeleton of what needs to be done prior to the work being done, because I don't like coming in cold and just with nothing to present. That's not my style. That doesn't work very well for me. So I like leading by example. So I have done some of the work, or I have done some of the research. Now I need you to carry it through. Leading by example, showing that you know, I expect you to work hard because I work hard. I expect you to do your job because I do my job too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I really want to talk about you giving them the skeletal framework of what you want them to do. But before that, you talked about if whether customers are coming back or not. You always review that, and you're about doing that again. And that's where some business owners get it wrong. How can they manage partners? How can they manage investors? How can they manage customers, especially those customers that are difficult to satisfy? Will they be able, what do they need to put in place to help them manage these people? Because they are a big part of the business.
So there's this thing in project management. We call this, you know, people management. We call it stakeholder management. Okay. So each stakeholder needs to be managed differently. Okay. So vendors need to be managed differently. Investors need to be managed differently. Customers need to be managed differently. But depending on the type of business that you have, of course, you deal with customers on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And it's called Pareto's law, which is the 80-20 rule. Okay. 80% of your business will come from 20% of your customers. Okay, so if you have 100 customers, 20 will return and return and return. What are you doing to keep those 20?
Yeah.
How are you treating those 20? Are you taking care of them? Are you being good to them? Are you being a good business to them? Okay, so that's what brings them back. Okay, are you offering them value? That's what brings them back, basically. And also, what a lot of businesses do not know, or perhaps do not realize, it's a lot cheaper to keep a customer than to bring a new one. So if 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers, okay, you will then spend 80% of you will then lose out on 80% of people. However, they will only be coming maybe once or twice, or when you have a discount or when you have an offer. But that 20% will buy from you whether you have an offer or not, because they know who you are, they understand your brand, they understand your business, they understand the value that you have to offer. So businesses need to know and understand that 80-20 rule is very, very important.
Very important. Okay, so there is this saying that says customers are never wrong. Customers are always right. And so some customers come and they give you that attitude, that cynical attitude, and you just want to throw them out. How do you relate to this kind of customer? I'm talking on your personal experience now. I'm not talking about the general people in businesses. How do you handle this kind of customers?
So I hate that saying, because that's not true. Customers are not always right. Okay. You have to always treat them right, but customers are not always right. Sometimes they are very, very wrong in the sense that you have signed a contract, they didn't read through the contract, and they expect something that wasn't either highlighted or something that you do not do, excuse me. So that level of clarity needs to be available and needs to be said and seen and shown throughout. Okay, so of course there is discretion, like in having worked in organization, when, you know, sometimes we think, you know what, this is not a big deal. We can make a discretion for this customer, because what will it cost us? What issue, you know, will it make? Absolutely none. But customers are not always right. And one thing I would say, even as a customer, I've noticed that myself. It's all about how to keep a relationship. You know, if a business that is dealing with me as a customer treats me right,
Yeah.
I, in return, as a customer, will treat them right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a relationship. It's a give and take. From time to time, you're okay making discretions. Other time, especially if the customer chooses to be difficult and chooses to be entitled, and again, I hold my hands up because I have done it too.
Yeah.
Then yes, it will be difficult. You know, so no, I do not believe the customer is always right. I believe that the
Okay.
customer should always be treated right.
Okay, I think I'll go with that school of thought. Customers should always be treated right, not that they're always right. Okay, so earlier on you said something that why you give your team or your staff the skeletal work, framework that of what they will build on. But we've seen most founders, most business owners, SMEs, they give you that framework, and instead of them to allow the staff bring in their own parts, build on it, create whatever you've given to them, they find it difficult to take themselves away from that. So they keep coming back, they keep interrupting, they keep uh, preventing the staff to use his or her experience to develop something. What kind of leadership is that?
That I used to be. I'm going to be very honest, simply because I have developed a certain level of detachment with my business. Yes, it is a business. It's something that I'm growing. It's something that I also know is not for me.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe because it's Ramadan and Lent and it's the month of reflection. That's probably why I'm saying that. I know that the business is being created to be sustainable, to help me and help other people. So that's the difference. That's the mindset that I have now. Whereas when I was first in businesses, the business is mine. It's my baby. It's something that I need to hold on to. So nobody can try anything that I do not like. Nobody can make a change. No, nobody can. No, I no longer have this mindset. If the change or if the initiative or if the idea is good for the business, bringing the business closer to its goal, making the business move forward, I am open now. I am open to listening. I am open to making those things happen to move the business forward. So I think it's all about being open, understanding what the business is there to do, and realizing that you need to be somewhat detached as well.
Okay. And what if the owner doesn't want to detach? What happens? What is what will be the outcome of that kind of situation? I want to bring in my idea. The business owner does not want to detach, and we just want this to go. We want this project to succeed. We do not want it to fail. What happens?
So in projects, we have this thing called the triple constraints. So it's money, time, and cost, which all affect quality. Okay, the quality should never be compromised. So if you do not want the quality to be compromised, it's either the money, you spend more money, you spend more time, or you spend more resources. I said cost before, but it's resources. So what is it that as a business owner you need to do? Okay. If you hold on like this, it will affect all of it. You need to learn to give people room to breathe. And when you give people room to breathe, that's when they bloom. Okay. That's when the people in your team do the best work. And yes, they will make mistakes. Yes, that's human. Yes, you will be frustrated. That's human. Like, it's one of those things that you need to understand that. And that's all part of, I would say, emotional intelligence. These things will happen. People will frustrate you regardless. People will make mistakes regardless. People will not get it right the first time round. But if you let them keep trying, they will get it right, especially if they understand your vision. Those are the type of people you should not let go of. Because finding the right people, as we were speaking before, is very difficult. So when you do, but then you make it hard for them, you're also making it hard for your business.
Okay, I like that. When you make it hard for them, you're also making it hard for the business. So now you want. I need you to speak generally. How can African SMEs funders move from the point of strategy to the point of results? Generally.
Moving from a point of strategy and to the point of results is first of all knowing what the result you want to achieve. What is it? Don't be vague. Like, oh, I just want the business to be big. Okay, what's your definition of big? Big could be going from a one man business to 20 people. That's big. Growing a team of 20, that is big. And it's not easy. Big is I want to make a turnover of $500,000 a year. That's big. What is your definition of big? So define that big clearly. Define, your end goal very clearly. And once you've defined it, work backwards from that. Do you think you can achieve that in a year, 2 years, 5 years? Then you create the plan. Once you've created the plan, you find the people, you have the funding, you start putting things in place a little bit at a time. And one thing about projects and business, it's a very, very volatile world. Okay, external factors, things from outside will always, always happen. So you need to be mentally prepared for that. I think in terms of making a business grow, a lot of it is mentality. So you need to be mentally prepared for that. Okay, so getting the result is knowing what result is it that you want, define it clearly, and then work backwards to have key touch points to make sure that you are moving towards your goal. And each time you reach one of those touch points, don't just brush it off and move on to the next point. Because I feel like as Africans, and I'm holding my hand up because I do it too, you're like, okay, I've reached it. What's next? You forget to say to yourself, I have reached a big milestone. I need to make sure that that is noted down. I need to make sure that I talk about it. I need to make sure that I share it with my team. I need to make sure that I celebrate my team to have helped me achieve that point. And we move on forward from there. So those are the key things I believe every entrepreneur should take into consideration.
All right. Thank you so much, Mokoy, for coming on the show today. We really appreciate your time. But your final word for a young person out there right now who wants to venture into entrepreneurship, who want to own a business, who want to run a business and see how he or she can move from that point of strategy to the point of result. This person hasn't started. The person is watching you right now. What's your final word? I mean, what's your word of advice for that person that wants to venture into entrepreneurship?
Start, but fail often. Okay? The more you fail, the more you learn. The more you learn, the more you realize that you're good at the thing that you're doing. Get a mentor. You'd be surprised about how much you will learn from someone who's been there before you, and that will also stop you from making mistakes. Have a strong mindset. I mean, us as Africans, I know that we're very, very resilient. We're very, very, I will make it happen no matter what. So have that resilience, and even if the win is this small, okay, even if it's still a win, you're still winning. So yeah, I'm rooting for you. Okay, I'm rooting for you. I wish every African person nothing but success.
Yeah, thank you very much once again. And I want to ask, what part of Africa are you from?
I'm from Congo, Kinshasa. Yeah.
Oh, from Congo. Okay, so what do you speak there? What's your native dialect there?
So I actually was brought up speaking French. So I speak French and English, but my native language is Lingala, and I also speak a little bit of Swahili as well.
Do you speak Lingala?
Yes, I do. I speak Lingala very well.
Very well. Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, so would you speak French or you speak Swahili? Because I don't want you to speak English anymore. We'll be talking. with English. So let's come back to our African language. Will you speak Swahili, Lingala, or French to say hello to your fans, to your friends, to family, to your colleagues, your staff, and everyone, and tell them to keep watching Just Africa? Which one?
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I've never been asked that, so I'm actually going to speak it in Lingala. So, because I really do love the language, and it's been slightly lost in the community. So, I'm definitely going to speak in Lingala. So, mbote na binonyoso. Naza awa live sur Just Africa. Nazo lobela makambo ya entrepreneurship pe yako banda musala. Na osenga bino nyonso merci. Pona nyonso obozo pianga sur internet pe na musala o nyonso tozo sala pour na business nanga Gaelle Mokoy coaching. Donc nasali interview lelo pona kolakisa batu musani nasalaka. Na équipe nanga ya 3 personnes. Nga navanda na Angleterre mais bango bavanda na Afrique basala nanga. Donc na osenga batu nyonso merci. Pona nyonso basali pona nga pona bango pepo batinga na émission na bango. Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, that sounded flawless. I wish I understood every word you said there, but that was beautiful. Thank you once more for coming on the show. And I hope when we reach out to you another time, you'll be available to join us again.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Welcome.